You are watching CBC News Today. I'm Nancy Wilson. This week, people who work with children are making a special effort to combat bullying. The counseling service Kids Help Phone co-produced a series of videos about different forms of bullying and ways to protect children. Some of the videos have run on television, and the organization is distributing the collection on DVD to schools across this country. Here's a sample.
It's your right to be safe. Whatever the problem, talk to Kids Help Phone.
That's part of a campaign called Right to Be Safe from Kids Help Phone. Tom McAllister is the organization's CEO, and he joins us now. So I suppose some might say that bullies have been around for as long as any of us can remember. Why is it so important to have an entire week dedicated to raising the awareness of bullying?
It's one of those things, Nancy, that unless people are aware of it, they can't begin to deal with the issues. If you think back to when we were kids, there was very much an attitude that it's part of growing up.
Right.
It'll help to develop character and so on and so forth. It's interesting, it's actually literally 18 years ago tomorrow that the United Nations passed the Convention on the Right of the Child. And so society's views as to what is acceptable in terms of the interactions with children and between children have significantly evolved over the last 15 to 20 years.
And if there is now general agreement, conventional wisdom is bullying is not acceptable, it's not healthy, we need to do everything we can to stop. Tell us more about the ad campaign that Kids Help Phone has launched and the kind of messages you're trying to get across in these ads.
Well, at the heart of it, the purpose behind Right to Be Safe is to put a tool into the hands of the teachers across Ontario in this instance, and could be happy to make them available beyond that, that will give them the opportunity to work with their kids, to talk about what bullying is from the perspective of what's it like to be bullied, what's it like to see other people being bullied, and in some instances to get the bullies themselves to think about their behavior and to consider what the ramifications may be. So the whole purpose is to generate awareness and understanding, and more than anything else, to foment discussion.
Certainly in recent news stories, we hear these horrible anecdotal examples of the damage done by cyberbullying. Actually, right now we're running one of the ads, and looking at text messaging obviously is another vehicle for bullying. But explain to people, because I think some people might say face-to-face intimidation and control, they get that. But this idea that there can be cyberbullying that can be just as damaging, if not more so. Are there any examples that you can cite to help people understand why the dynamic on the internet can be so damaging?
Well, to start with cyberbullying, if you think of how things have changed, there's an expression about internet generations today, technological generations, and basically a technological generation is about 5 years, because the way a person who's 15 today uses technology will not be the same as a 15-year-old 5 years from now, because the technology, 5 years ago there was no YouTube, there was no MySpace, there was no Facebook, even text messaging was relatively new, so it's changing very quickly. As a result of access to that technology, kids' social lives today are not completely dominated by electronic means, but heavily influenced and mediated by electronic means. And so that is both a positive and a negative. Used positively, there's tremendous upside to using technology, but it is a very, very powerful weapon because unlike the bullying that we think of traditionally.
Right.
I read a statistic that somewhere between 75 and 80% of bullying happens in school-related environments, on the way to, on the way back from, or at school, or school-related events. The trouble with cyberbullying is it can get you anywhere, anytime. You could be at a basketball game. You could be watching, a basketball game. You could be, playing hockey somewhere. You could be sitting at your kitchen table, and you could get a message that is very, very damaging to your views.
Home is not a safe haven. So if there are some kids at school who target you and want to bully you there, then they can follow up and do so on the internet. So it's as if you're being stalked.
Absolutely, and it's 24/7, 365, everywhere you go. You really can't get away from it.
So obviously parents need to be aware of this dimension. Take me through what you think are some of the classic mistakes that parents make in trying to deal with this.
Perhaps the biggest mistake they could make, and the greatest concern that kids have, is that if they tell their parents that they're being cyberbullied, that the parent will take away their electronic media.
Right.
If you're getting hateful emails, well, we won't let you go on the emails anymore. If you're getting text messages, don't worry, we'll get rid of your cell phone. The kids would sooner endure the bullying than be ostracized by losing the tools that enable them to access their social network.
So obviously a classic mistake is to overreact. So if you have to rein in that instinct. It may be well intentioned, but it's just going to do more harm than good. Any suggestions? What do parents need to know as we look at this week and try and raise awareness? What do parents need to know?
There are different things that the parent needs to do. First and foremost, unrelated specifically to cyberbullying, but the most important thing that a parent can do is to be able to communicate honestly with their child. Mm-hmm. If the child has made a mistake to do with technology, either, in any of a number of different ways, if they're afraid of going to their parent because they're going to take a lot of heat from the parent as a result, then they will keep it inside. So if you can keep the channels of communication open with your child, that is an absolute, essential consideration. Other things. It's very easy if you're more than 20 years of age to be intimidated by technology.
Right.
How many of us, if you asked your friends, how many of them get their 12-year-old, daughter or granddaughter to program their VCR, and a lot of hands would go up.
Oh, absolutely. We're all so busted on that front.
and as adults, we know that.
Right.
But we owe it to our kids not to be intimidated by the technology. If they're on Facebook, or they're going into YouTube, or they're text messaging, or they've got their own little blog site or something like that, we owe it to the kids to spend the time with them to understand what it is that they do, and not just sort of say, I'm sorry, that's technology and I don't understand it. So we need to be able to communicate honestly with them. We need to take the time to understand what they're doing. And the experts would also tell you that it's a mistake to allow a child to have a computer in the privacy of their own bedroom. Okay. There's just too much that can go on. There's too many mistakes that can be made. If the computer is out in the family room or in the kitchen or the dining room or something like that, where there's always flow through back and forth, then it's easier for the parent to have a sense of what might or might not be going on behind the scenes.
Good point. Tom, very good to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure indeed. Thank you for the opportunity.
And more advice on bullying and other issues that affect children, do visit the Kids Help Phone website, www.kidshelpphone.ca.